Hello, everyone. Falling Hurts, Coleman, Draven.
Yep, that's me.
Yes. Hopping right into it for a quick, non-spoilery review for Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. So, we just saw this movie. We did a double feature, and we're going to be recording a second video immediately after this for... Is it Winnie the Pooh 2, Blood and Honey? Or Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2?
Got it right the second time.
Yeah, maybe they got it right the second time too.
Anyway, maybe
watch that video.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're gonna do kind of a quick video. No spoilers. Nothing major. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about what's in the trailer. Just maybe eliminate some of the context a little bit. But that will probably be about it. And if you've never seen our videos before, know that these videos tend to be a little bit shorter than our normal discussions, which usually go for about an hour.
All you need to know about this movie is Winton from Overwatch with Doomfist Gauntlet, and that's the game. That's the movie.
Yeah.
That's it.
To the 5 people still playing Overwatch.
Yeah, everyone's about the Marvel 6v6 game. Hulk's in the back line. Get him. Oh no, Loki's diving me. Someone help me. GG. Freaking Spider-Man diff. Sorry, we can get to the movie now.
99% of whoever may find this video have no idea what you just said.
Oh my god, dude. Godzilla is in this movie for a total of like 5 minutes. I'm just kidding.
Actually, okay, yeah, let's get that out of the way. So this movie probably has the most screen time of monsters in general for all of these MonsterVerse movies.
Yeah.
This is Adam Wingard, director, same one that did Godzilla vs. Kong. So this is kind of like his second movie. I think he leaned in a lot more to what worked well with Godzilla versus Kong. But I think there's also the very similar shortcomings, but they kind of rear their head in slightly different ways. And what I mean by that is there's a lot more monster screen time in general, whether that be Creatures of Hollow Earth, Kong, Godzilla, whatever it may be. And the issue for me personally, this movie is called Godzilla X Kong, and as Draven's already said here, Godzilla is in it, and he is in the movie, and he's an important character. However, he feels more like a plot device rather than a character.
Well, I mean,
comparatively to Kong, this feels like it was a Kong movie that they're like, all right, well, we need Godzilla to make money.
I was just gonna say, I wouldn't say that because Skull Island was dope without Godzilla.
Yeah, but they haven't made a standalone Kong movie since.
I mean, that's fair. I was just saying, like, if they wanted to, I feel like a Kong movie would do good. But I wanted to jump in there and say that, like, I felt like from the last movie alone that you would have probably guessed that Kong is kind of the star of the franchise that we're in of these movies. I feel like even the trailer showed off that, like, Kong's gonna be the center of the whole movie. And
I mean, it's much more personal plot to his character.
I will say though, when Godzilla is on screen, kind of dope. Like he looked really clean in this movie. I don't remember what all it shows in the trailer, but like
you see the color.
Okay, you see the color change.
Yeah.
I love the pink aesthetic. I love it more than the blue actually.
Yeah.
And there's reasons for why he goes pink. He goes Pink Panther on everyone. But when he screams, it just plays the theme. Da-na, da-na, da-na. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The Pink Panther theme.
Somebody can make that edit.
Sure.
Somebody out there will. You will later.
Yeah, I'll put it in.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, continue.
No, I was just going to say, you can definitely tell from the trailer that Kong's more centered toward the main character of the movie. And we watched the Godzilla versus Kong movie, and then the one before that, which was, I don't remember.
King of the Monsters.
So King of the Monsters, I felt, was like really heavily focused on people plot.
Yes.
Monsters were barely in the movie, like at all, besides like probably 5 minutes of screen time. And then the last one, Godzilla versus Kong, had a lot more monster action in it, but it still was like split 50, maybe 40, 60 of people in. I felt like this movie just like put people in like 10% and then like 90% monsters.
Oh. See, I have like, it's so weird because in this movie, as much as like it feels toned down even further, it felt like they gave the characters more to do in a weird enough kind of way. Whether that be, it's clear that Brian Tyree Hill's character, the podcaster,
The Discord
is
modder.
yeah, the Discord moderator is meant to be like the comic relief. And in the last movie, this movie's funny.
It
I
is.
think this movie's funny.
It is fun.
This is
funny.
the first
Yeah.
movie in the MonsterVerse that's cracking jokes that actually I feel like does a good job of that. On the inverse of that, I do feel like the last movie, Godzilla vs. Kong, hit the emotional points better when they were there. But I feel like in this one, there's enough there to be a resonant plot, I think. But you have to be coming at it not from like a human perspective, definitely from Kong, I think. Like, not spoilers or anything like that. But like it's a very Kong centric plot.
I agree.
And I mean, in the trailers, you see the Scar King, the orangutan looking ape, and all of the other ones down there hammering around and doing everything. There's more. He's got a whole race of them down there, and
plus, you see in the trailer, I'm pretty sure, the glowing eyes in the dark, and then
oh,
that ends up being a cool plot point. Actually,
exactly.
I do like that a lot. The thing that revolves around, I don't want to like say what it is or anything like that, because I don't think the trailer showed anything like that or what it was
of like what the
thing is or what it relates to.
It's weird. There's some foreign trailers that did.
Oh, did it?
But yeah.
Well, to keep spoilers aside, the thing that goes with the Scar King and like that tribe of monkeys and they're like that creature that ends up coming around, or the eyes that come out, it correlates in a really cool way. And I also like what they did with the creature towards the end.
Yes.
Like, I like the outcome of, again, I can't say it, but I like what they did with it at the end instead of what I thought they were going to do with it.
Yes, I agree.
One thing I did want to say is that in the last movie you see Godzilla, go full reptile mode, like scratching him up and everything. And the first thing I noticed when Kong was on screen is that he still has like the scratches and scars on him.
Yep.
So like the designs still look fantastic.
I think I mean, obviously it's the newest movie, but like I think the visuals in this movie are probably the highest quality.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you thought that the visuals and everything looked good in the last movie, this movie basically just improved on it. Everything looks fantastic. The CGI looks good.
The only scene I didn't like was when it's very, very beginning of the movie. So this is I wouldn't consider this really a spoiler. And actually, they do it in the last movie too. Kong gets covered in blood and guts of like a creature. And it just doesn't. It's never looked good. It doesn't look good. Something about that just doesn't, like the slimy, like fur just doesn't work. But what I really liked were how emotive the apes were.
Oh yeah.
Whether it be Suko, the little mini Kong, or like Kong himself, of course,
or even like the villain.
Any of them,
and even like the side monkeys that are in there, apes. Like, they're bursting with personality for like, monsters that don't talk.
We're not even really like
understanding what they're like specifically saying. You just get the gist of like,
you
get the gist of like what's going on or what they're trying to say to each other without things being planted. Like, because when Kong talks to the deaf girl,
Gia, you get some sign language,
and it does the subtitles. A lot of this movie is the apes talking back and forth, but there's no subtitles.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there, and like they did it in a good way to the point where you don't need the titles. You understand like kind of what they're saying to each other.
Right.
And that's good movie direction right there. For being able to understand what's going on when reality, considering you don't even like know what they're saying, you shouldn't. So props to that for sure.
Another thing that I want to give, because I have some negatives that I feel like, I know I kind of briefly mentioned the Godzilla thing, and that it kind of leads into a greater, choice issue with how the movie was made. But another thing I wanted to give huge props to were like these small attentions to detail. There were a lot of scenes, like specifically, like even in the last movie, Hollow Earth is like, it's almost like a mirror. Like there's like mountains coming from both sides, right? You know what I mean? And one thing I noticed, some of like when you're following the birds flying along it, you notice that like with the way they're like, I don't know, their bone structure is or whatever, and like the way they're flying, they fly as though they're attached to gravity of one side, and then they're able to, without flipping over, fly with the gravity of the other side as they get closer to the ground. I was like, I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up too about Hollow Earth, is because this is the movie where they really, really touch on Hollow Earth.
Yes.
Like compared to the
It's
the
like a
last
major
one.
setting,
Like
yeah.
like most of the movie is Hollow Earth, and honestly, I didn't know how I'd feel about that. The thing is it's both. Like most of it is in Hollow Earth, and it does correlate with our Earth, the real world, whatever. And like they intertwine in ways, and they intertwine towards the end in a way.
Right.
And I like that. I was kind of worried towards the end. I was like, man, I kind of wish that it'd be doing this, and it did do that, what I wanted it to do. But my thing is that with Hollow Earth, you really get to explore the landscape, and then something happens, and you get to find out more undiscovered things. And there, you see a lot of creatures, you see a lot of like different environments.
Creature designs in this movie,
Yeah, like
top notch.
the creatures and the aesthetic of the jungle and like the biomes that it has, it's really cool. And just seeing like Kong just run around and just do his own thing in the place, it's awesome. Like Hollow Earth was done really well, actually. And it's funny because in the previous movies, I was like, Hollow Earth, really? That sounds so like lame. I wasn't really a fan of the choice before we got to get to know it.
Right.
But when they first brought it up in like the first movie we watched, where they're like, Hollow Earth, I'm like, really? We're doing like center of the Earth? It actually has something in it. That's dumb. But I came around to it. This movie sold me for it.
I like it, and I like how they're very clear that they've only discovered like 5% of it.
Yeah.
Which is just, it leaves so much open to interpretation. And another thing that's really big for Godzilla, and we've gotten this a little bit with Ghidorah from King of the Monsters, a lot of the creatures come from space. Like, they're not of the planet. And like a lot of Godzilla's biggest villains aren't of Earth. Because, Godzilla is. And so, when they threaten, that's what happens. But, yeah, I really enjoy Hollow Earth as a setting. I enjoy the creature designs. I really just wish that, like, this is the movie that made me want to, like, explore Hollow Earth and say, like, a video game.
Oh, yeah. That'd be
like,
dope.
like,
that'd be neat. That'd be
like,
neat.
I think that'd be cool. And, like, I think it's done really well in showing that Kong is, like, maturing, like, as, like, a character. Because, like, he's resourceful in this movie. Like, I won't get into how, but, like, Kong
Yeah, he uses his environment a lot.
In the last movie, you get a little bit of, like, fish out of water feel from him. Like, obviously, he's off his island for the first time in his whole life. So he's kind of out of his element no matter where he goes.
Well, I mean, the last movie, he's like, the only time you really see it is when he's swinging around, like, Empire buildings and everything. Yeah. But in this movie, he's kind of in his own element. He's around trees, like, grassy environments.
Yep.
He gets to do his own thing. And I also want to point out for, like, Kong, too, is that, like, I mean, he was like that always, but I feel like in this movie they really tackled the whole, like, he's a real good guy, like, even, like, because, like, in the last movie you knew that he was tied with the little girl, the little deaf girl.
Yeah.
But in this movie, sure, he still is, but, he sees humans in general, and there's a scene where, like, he's fighting a creature, and I remember, like, something happens, and you see, like, people in, like, a building or something, and he looks over, and he looks kind of worried.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, see, that's cool. All the other monsters are just going ham, and then he's, like, the only one who's just like...
Godzilla does not care.
So, I like the humanity aspect of Kong, and, like, it's cool. That's, like, he's different in that aspect. And then Godzilla being probably the most, like, dangerous of them all, just, like...
Right.
going ham.
Yeah, I thought the motivations for pretty much every character in this movie, whether it be human or kaiju, Titan, I guess is what they call them, made perfect sense. I really do believe that. In motivationally setting up the plot, I mean, specifically with the kaiju, I thought both of those made really well sense. I thought this is like complete spoiler, so I'm not going to say it. There was one bit of plot device I didn't like.
Is it gonna be the supernaturally stuff? Because I actually kind of was like, eh.
Yeah,
there's some supernaturally-esque things that happen in the later plot.
It basically entirely had to do with what goes on with Gia.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
In the second portion, in the
Yep.
first portion.
That's what I was
of
going to
course.
bring up. That's a kind of one of the negatives for me is it just felt so out of place.
I liked her setup with, like what's going on with her at school and everything. I liked
Yeah.
that. That was fine because there's a reason or whatever. But then it just kind of went a little too mystical for me. Which we're talking about giant monsters.
Yeah, that's what I was
radioactive energy, space monsters.
Yeah,
I understand.
I was
how
gonna
it
ask
sounds.
you like how you felt about that, considering all the stuff that this franchise and like this movie has in it. How you would feel about like the stuff that happens with her in the
It just
later
felt
half.
different.
Yeah,
It felt different.
If like even as a person who's only watched the previous two up to this point, it still felt kind of jarring in a way.
Yeah.
It worked. Like it's not terrible. It works, but it was weird to me. It was supernaturally, and I didn't expect supernatural-esque intentions in here.
Right.
But it is what it is. It works.
It is in a lot of ways that character and that plot point is kind of a homage to a lot of the older Japanese movies, but it does it in a really different way. So
I see.
that being said, it's presented quite differently in the Japanese versions. However, it's kind of the same intent. But with that being said, I had a few negatives that I wanted to really get into. I know we've kind of been skirting the line of them. One of which being, I felt like this movie was a bit too long. I know that's weird to say because it's shorter than the last one and even shorter than the one before that. But I feel like there was some extra fluff in this movie, or at the very least, some scenes could have been rejiggered around to fit better into a better flow. Every once in a while, it felt like we were getting a scene just because we were like, okay, we have to keep up on all aspects of the story right now in order for everything to kind of come together at the same time, which is, of course, intentional, but at the same time, it felt a little sloppy at times. Otherwise,
I mean, like I said, for me, it's the thing we just talked about with like her and her like stuff that happens later got a little wonky for me that I didn't care for. And then, like I said, even from the last movie, I like Godzilla, but I'm more of a Kong guy anyway. So this movie was awesome, but even as a Kong guy, I'm like, I want some more Godzilla in here.
Yeah, it was very.
I don't know. I expected more for his character, like his plot. Like you said, it's basically he's basically the plot device. Like
it feels that way. It's like,
and his build up to his plot is awesome.
I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed all the human twists they put on it, like how they're monitoring him and everything, and I liked that, and like I liked everything that happened. I just wish there was, for a movie that is titled Godzilla X, it's not Kong X Godzilla.
Yeah, it's Godzilla X
X
Kong.
Kong.
Yeah. See, like you might as well just go Kong X God ... and then just
This movie is actually just Kong, and then the subtitle of the movie is with his friend Godzilla.
well, the title should be Kong X Jesus.
Yeah, because
'Cause-
Brazil. Yeah, wherever it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Didn't the last movie have a cross? Yeah, because we saw the trailer with Brazil having
what it
the
was,
and then the last movie had a cross after we watched the trailer.
That's
and we're
the
like,
secret. That's the secret Titan that's revealed in this movie. It's Jesus Christ. He has ultimate healing powers.
oh, does he?
No, but he can definitely turn the oceans to. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You'll get into it when you see the movie. You'll understand.
Yeah, you'll get it. You'll get it. It's a big plot point.
Big plot point. Huge. Huge. Crazy. With that being said, I mean,
Okay, so my only thing is like the end. The ends of these movies always have your final fight scene, right?
right.
So compared, I guess, to the last one, since the last one's made by like the same director or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
it's fair to make a direct comparison.
With that one, they're fighting in Hong Kong or something, and it's all like, isn't that
Very
what it
pretty,
is?
yes.
It's very
Yeah,
like neon
neon.
lit, and it looks really, really cool aesthetically. Did you like that fight more, or did you like what we got here in the new location?
Well, let me tell you this. The fight, I guess we can talk specifically about fights throughout the movie for a second, and that's a good way to kind of put it. The choreography and everything in this movie is so much more diverse than even the last movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of all the different creatures and things coming into it. And when it comes to that final fight, which is fairly well spoiled in the trailers, unfortunately, if you're paying attention. And I liked it. I did. But, I mean, there's no denying the visual styling of that Hong Kong fight. However, I will say, there's a better build up to the end in this movie. I think this movie feels.
I was not sorry to cut you off. I was gonna say you're right because the last movie was the Mecha Godzilla that was just thrown in the last minute, and then it was just bam, there it is.
Yeah.
This movie builds up the villain throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and like even but like there's just a lot to unpack, and like this movie, I feel like it does a great job of, like I said, when it doesn't have those extraneous plot points that it feels to need to catch you up on. When you have that main narrative moving forward, it's really slick. It's really clean. And like that's why I'm like, this was a Kong movie. This was a Kong movie.
It was.
Like it should have just been a Kong movie, and it should have been like. I mean, it just is what it is.
It's literally
it
you could
is
have just
what
had
it
a
is.
cameo of Godzilla and just called it a Kong movie. Like
Yeah.
honestly, that's what it should have been.
I mean, they called it Spider-Man, and guess what? Iron Man showed up. They didn't say Spider-Man X Iron Man. You know, they didn't do that. Homecoming, you know what I mean? No, they didn't do that.
I do like. I don't know if it was in the trailers, but I do like the scene between the two again when they first meet each other. When you see Kong and Godzilla actually meet up again for the first time since the last time we seen them.
Right.
And what happens there?
It's on brand.
I was gonna say it
everybody's-
makes sense, but I just love that like because in that scene you have one of them trying to do an objective,
Yeah.
and then the other one's just like no.
Yep.
And I like that a lot because it's in his character as to it's actually in both their characters, you know,
Yes.
as to what they're there to do. So I like that a lot.
Absolutely.
Just talking fight scenes.
No, 100%. I thought every fight scene in this movie was well deserved, well paced, and well choreographed.
Spoiler alert, it maybe not, I don't know. If it's in the trailer, couldn't tell you. But the axe makes a return.
Oh yeah, the axe is in the trailer. Actually, that was a big theory of if it was going to get broken or not by the ice blast.
Oh,
which you see that.
I guess
see
you'll
that in the
have
trailer.
you have to find out.
Yeah, you see that in the trailer, and then you never see Kong use it again. So
I guess you have to watch to find that out. But the axe, when it is in use, awesome.
yeah,
And what does happen to it for whatever amount of time versus if it ever comes back or not, I kind of like. I don't know. I can't really say, but there's a part that happens with the axe later, I imagine you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know, but it was cool. I like that concept of what happens with it.
Yeah, man, there's just so much about this movie I like, but Godzilla as a side character in a title film, as well as, while in my opinion a more action-based human plot, and something that was my biggest criticism of it in the last one, it's still toned down quite a bit. Which I think we need to accept that this is probably the right balance.
Yeah, like I said, I felt like the human percent, like I said in the beginning, it's like a 90-10 split compared to like the rest of them because the other ones like have so many human plot points in it and stuff.
Yeah,
I felt like this one, I agree with you that like the humans, it felt like they did a lot more than the humans.
It felt more impactful than the last movie.
But their screen time was so limited compared to the other two. So it's weird that they
cast
had...
was smaller, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, the cast was super small, super limited on screen time, but they did so much more than the previous two human character casts, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I when I watch these movies, I'm here for the monsters, so that's what I'm excited to see.
Yep.
But, humans, it makes sense to have the human plots in there. And the characters that are in here, I like. The main cast.
Yeah, I think they've got like Adam Wingard's 2 films so far. I hope he does a third. I really do. Only because it's like I hope we get to see like a full development of this cast of characters, because you've got, is his name Barry, the Brian Tyree
Barry
character, the podcaster.
I don't remember his name.
I'm pretty sure it's Barry. You've got him. The doctor, notably,
He's one of my favorites.
yeah,
He's hilarious.
I like all of the cast in this movie specifically, and I would love to see at least one more with the returning cast. I mean, we didn't get Millie Bobby Brown in this one, but like it's okay. She didn't do much in the last one. I felt like she was just under contract to do 2 movies instead of 1.
Was that the daughter of?
Yeah, that's Madison.
Yeah,
Madison. Yes.
She was in like the last movie.
Yeah, her
whatever
brother
reason.
was Andrew Dead Guy.
Andrew Dead Guy, he's making a return, dude.
Yeah.
I love that movie where it talks about Andrew Dead Guy and no one cares about him.
Yeah.
We just call it Andrew because the last name Dead Guy because Andrew was the son that died in that family from Godzilla stepping on him, basically.
It's R.I.P. But with that being said, in my humble opinion, to kind of move into a little bit of a final verdict, if you liked Godzilla versus Kong and maybe had some minor gripes that you hope to be resolved, I think you will get that in this movie. I think fundamentally my biggest issues were answered. However, if you had major issues with Godzilla versus Kong, I don't think you're going to get much different here. That being said, I think this movie is visually the best it's ever been for the series.
Yeah.
Tonally, I mean, it's a little back and forth at times, but I think it strikes a decent balance, very MCU-like in that sense. That being said, I think this movie's a fun popcorn watch. I'm going to go ahead and give it like probably a 6.5 or a 7. I think I'll lean 7 over this one because I think the last one was 6.5. So,
okay.
Yeah, I think there's enough improvement there to justify this movie existing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I kind of agree there. I think this is a really, really good popcorn flick. You're going to watch it once. I mean, if you're a big fan of the franchise and the series, I think you might watch it more than once. But if you're just, I want to check it out. And plus, I don't think this movie is a movie where you had to watch the previous ones. So, like, if you're just going out just to watch a movie, because it kind of recaps a lot of stuff.
Yes, but I would recommend at least watching Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes, I agree.
At the very least.
Because those ones are the two that are intertwined the most.
Yes.
But if you did just go out and watch this, you would still have a good time. You wouldn't have to have the previous one. Because it does catch you up on a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And with that in mind, that means like anyone can go and enjoy it. It's a fun, action-y monster punch flick. And the human cast actually was kind of fun. One of my biggest complaints about the people in the previous ones is that I didn't care for them and they weren't entertaining.
Yeah.
I agree that, I laughed in this movie with the humans talking, especially with, the podcast guy and the dentist doctor guy.
Yeah.
They're both hilarious. Him always playing music anytime things get serious. I'm like, all right. Mm-hmm. So, the cast is vibrant. They're real fun. And then obviously you're there for the monsters and they look amazing. Their aesthetics are awesome. Godzilla's color aesthetic is super nice as always. Mm-hmm. Like I said, my biggest negative, even as a guy who likes Kong probably more, is that Godzilla is not in it as much as you would hope for, especially, as you said, as a movie titled Godzilla first and then X Kong.
Yeah.
So it's weird. When he's in the movie, he's awesome. Like, he's always putting in the work. I feel like he put in some major damage in this movie. And the villain in this movie is probably my favorite villain out of the three we watched.
Oh my gosh, very menacing.
Because he's a character that, like,
very menacing.
He's a character that has,
I call him Scar King. Yeah, we call him Monkey Scar. Sorry. Go on.
All right, he's getting into politics now, baby. 2024. No, the villain is definitely more threatening in this movie than last movie had the Mecha Godzilla and all that stuff, which they were cool, but I felt like this movie they built up the villain all the way since like the get-go of the movie, all the way to the end, and
also, the payoffs were still good.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Weirdly enough, like you meet the villain, and then you get like payoffs later, like how menacing he actually is.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit.
And that's the thing, is I like that this villain isn't just off on his own. He kind of has like a cult going in a way. So like, you have the presence of him, but you have the presence of like this community he built and like all these people he like leads and these people he controls and they work for him. So, there's hordes of things out there that are going for people. And I don't know. I like the villain a lot. So that definitely raises my score a lot.
The sci-fi in this movie is top notch. Like, there's messing with gravity, there's messing with different perspectives, a bunch of different visual effects, and
there's a lot of stuff in this movie that makes no sense. But it's like,
at what point do we start embracing it?
Yeah, like who cares? At this point, you're there for the fun, right?
I had to hit that at a certain point.
Because there's certain things in this movie, especially when it comes with the little girl later down the line, that gets a little wonky, a little wacky with it, and it doesn't feel like it fits in the universe, but it is what it is.
Yep.
And with that in mind, I think I'm going to tie with you with a 7. I think this is my favorite out of the 3 we watched. And if there's ever another one coming in, I'm down to watch it again. See what the new one comes.
So I mean, it's an interesting journey for you.
Yeah.
Going from I don't care about this franchise to I'm indifferent about this franchise. It didn't woe me one way or the other to potentially being ready for a new one.
Yeah.
That's the most I can hope for.
Yeah, exactly.
Better than I did with Indiana Jones.
I definitely prefer this over Indy.
Oh yeah.
So, well, you started me with that first movie. I didn't care for it too much. Then, Godzilla versus Kong I liked a lot more, and then this one I basically like it the same a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So, the last two movies, this and the last one, were really good. And yeah, I would recommend anyone to watch them.
Nice. Okay, well, that's really our review for this movie. We're going to keep it a little shorter so it's attainable to do. However,
YouTube friendly.
Yeah, YouTube friendly. I did want to kind of just for one final second ponder the idea of imagine a survival game in Hollow Earth.
Okay.
For a second,
I'm gonna craft my house.
You craft your house, resources. Maybe you can take advantage of those shield things that they use or whatever. If that was a thing in the movie. Anyway, I think that was actually in a trailer. It's fine. But maybe even you have to worry about kaiju coming by, and you have to turn off your fires or something so they don't notice.
Just stay undetected.
Huh?
Just to stay undetected.
Yeah,
without
just
them.
crazy stuff. You can't fight them clearly, but the smaller stuff, sure, maybe you could fight, but the big stuff you just have to avoid or try to set up better defenses or something. And I just think that'd be such a cool concept.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd play it.
There you go. But anyway, thank you for watching this episode of what is the show? Popcorn Podcast.
What is this show?
I almost said Fall Damage. That's the other one.
Fall Damage?
Yep. Anyway, thank you for watching it. My name is Coleman. This is Draven. And yeah, goodbye.
Later.
All right. Goodbye.